The Velkarian Empire had conquered 243 worlds. Their ships moved through space like dark clouds, bringing submission wherever they went. For 2 centuries no one had defeated them. No one had even tried to fight back. Admiral Tamine stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. Before him floated a holographic image of a blue and green planet. The third planet from a yellow star humans called Sol. What do we know about them? Tamine asked his second officer, a woman named Jaiwan. She pulled up the data files. They are divided into multiple nations, still fighting each other over resources and land. Technology level is primitive. Nuclear fission only. Chemical rockets. No plasma weapons. No energy shields. Tamine smiled. This would be easy. Perhaps the easiest conquest in years. How many ships do they have in space? He asked. A few small stations orbiting their planet. 2 bases on their moon. Some settlements on the 4th planet, Mars. All of them are lightly defended. We count maybe 300 spacecraft total, and most are cargo vessels. The admiral laughed. He had brought 300 warships. Each one could destroy a city in seconds. Each one carried enough firepower to crack a planet's crust. Send the standard message, he ordered. The communication officer nodded and began broadcasting across all frequencies. The message was simple and direct. It had worked on every world before this one. People of Earth, you are now subjects of the Velkarian Empire. Surrender your weapons. Prepare for integration into our civilization. Any resistance will result in the complete destruction of your species. Tamine expected panic. He expected desperate pleas for mercy. He expected chaos as the primitive humans realized they stood no chance. Instead, silence. For 10 minutes nothing happened. The Velkarian fleet waited at the edge of the solar system, engines humming with power. Then a response came. It was in perfect Velkarian language, which surprised Tamine. The voice was calm and cold. You have 72 hours to leave our system. This is your only warning. The bridge fell silent. Every officer turned to look at Admiral Tamine. For a moment he could not speak. Then he began to laugh. His officers joined him, their laughter echoing through the command center. Did they just warn us? Jaiwan asked, wiping tears from her eyes. Apparently so, Tamine said, still chuckling. How delightful. These humans have courage, I will give them that. Foolish courage, but courage nonetheless. He stood from his command chair and walked to the viewport. Earth hung in the distance like a blue jewel. Move the fleet to Mars orbit, he ordered. Let us show them what happens to those who refuse the Empire. The 300 warships activated their engines and began moving deeper into the solar system. As they approached Mars, something strange happened. Every human installation went dark. The space station stopped transmitting. The satellites powered down. The moon bases fell silent. Even the settlements on Mars showed no signs of life. What is happening? Tamine demanded. The sensor officer checked his displays, confusion clear on his face. Sir, they appear to be abandoning everything. All personnel are evacuating to Earth. All of them? Yes, sir. Every station, every base, every ship. They are all heading to their home world. Jaiwan frowned. That makes no strategic sense. Why concentrate their entire population on one planet? That makes them easier to destroy, not harder. Tamine shrugged. Fear makes primitives act irrationally. They probably think their planet's atmosphere will protect them. They do not understand the power of our weapons. But something felt wrong. In all his years of conquest, Tamine had never seen a species react this way. Usually they scattered, trying to save at least some of their population. They did not gather together like animals waiting for slaughter. A young analyst named Hyunwoo spoke up hesitantly. Sir, I have been reviewing their cultural databases. There is something unusual about human history. What is it? They have been at war for their entire existence. Thousands of years of constant conflict. Yet 15 years ago, they suddenly unified under one planetary government. The timing seems irrelevant, Tamine interrupted. The threat of external conquest forces unity. We have seen this pattern before on other worlds. He turned back to the viewport, watching Earth grow larger as the fleet advanced. 48 hours, he said quietly. Then we show them the price of defiance. Commander Jaiwan piloted her scout ship closer to Earth's moon. Her mission was simple: scan the abandoned human bases and confirm they posed no threat. The readings she received made no sense. The moon bases were empty. Completely empty. No life signs, no power signatures, nothing. It was as if the humans had simply walked away from everything they had built. This is strange, she muttered into her communicator. Admiral, the moon installations show no activity. They left everything behind. Equipment, supplies, even their weapons. Admiral Tamin's voice crackled through her speaker. Good. That confirms they are afraid. Continue your sweep and report back. Jaiwan guided her ship around the lunar surface. Below her, she could see the human bases built into craters. Some were quite large, capable of housing thousands of people. All sat dark and lifeless. She moved on to scan the Mars colonies next. The story was the same. Empty buildings. Silent machinery. No defenders. The humans had abandoned everything and retreated to Earth. Back on the flagship, analyst Hyunwoo could not shake his unease. He sat at his workstation reviewing files on human culture and history. What he found disturbed him deeply. Humans had fought wars for thousands of years. Against each other. Constantly. Their history was soaked in blood. They had invented weapons specifically to kill other humans more efficiently. Nuclear bombs. Biological weapons. Chemical agents that melted flesh. But then, 15 years ago, something changed. All the fighting stopped. Every nation on Earth joined together under one government. One unified military. One purpose. Hyunwoo pulled up more files. Human entertainment fascinated him. Their stories, their movies, their books. Almost all of them shared common themes. The underdog who defeats the powerful enemy. The last stand against impossible odds. Victory through sacrifice and determination. They celebrated warriors who never surrendered, even when facing certain death. One word appeared again and again in every human language. Hyunwoo had to look it up in the translation matrix. Spite. It meant doing something difficult or harmful to yourself just to prove a point to someone else. Just to show them they could not control you. He wrote a detailed report and sent it to Admiral Tamin. The Admiral never read it. At the 48-hour mark, another transmission came from Earth. The same calm, cold voice. 48 hours remain. Leave now. Tamin decided to send a message of his own. He ordered his weapons officer to destroy the largest human space station. It was called the International Space Station and it orbited Earth peacefully. The weapons officer fired. A single plasma bolt crossed the distance in seconds. The station exploded in a brilliant flash of light and metal. Broadcast this across all their channels, Tamin ordered. Let them see what happens when they defy the Empire. 24 hours passed. The Valkyrian fleet crossed through the asteroid belt between Mars and Earth. As they did, strange things began happening. Navigation systems flickered. Sensors reported objects that were not there. Targeting computers locked onto empty space and lost track of real objects. What is causing this interference? Tamin demanded. His chief engineer checked the systems carefully. Probably solar radiation, sir. This star puts out unusual electromagnetic pulses. Our shields are compensating. Everything is fine. But everything was not fine. Jaiwan felt it in her bones. Something was wrong. The humans were too quiet. Too calm. They had not begged for mercy. They had not tried to negotiate. They had simply given a warning and then gone silent. She thought about Hyunwoo's report, the one she had skimmed but not really read. Something about human culture and warfare. At the 72-hour mark exactly, the final transmission came from Earth. Time is up. Then every screen on every Valkyrian ship went white. Sensors overloaded. Alarms screamed across 300 warships. Earth was lighting up with energy signatures that should not exist. The moon's surface cracked open like an egg. Thousands of weapon batteries emerged from inside. Mars colonies deployed cannons the size of skyscrapers. And the asteroid belt itself came alive with movement. Thousands of human warships decloaked simultaneously. They had been hiding there all along, disguised as rocks and debris. Admiral Tamin stared at his tactical display in horror as it filled with red threat markers. There were not hundreds of human ships. There were thousands. Shields up, he screamed. All ships, evasive maneuvers. Return fire. But it was already too late. The humans had not retreated in fear. They had not abandoned their stations because they were primitive. They had set a trap. And the Valkyrian Empire had flown right into it. The first human weapons fired before Admiral Tamin could finish his order. What happened next would be recorded in Valkyrian history as the darkest 23 minutes their military had ever experienced. Beams of pure energy lanced through space from the moon. They were not the crude laser weapons the intelligence reports had described. These weapons cut through Valkyrian shields like they were made of paper. The first 3 warships died in the opening seconds, their hulls splitting open and spilling crew into the vacuum. Impossible. Tamin shouted. Our shields can withstand star radiation. How are they penetrating? His science officer had no answer. The energy signatures made no sense. The humans were using principles of physics that Valkyrian scientists had not even theorized yet. From Mars, massive railguns fired projectiles the size of buildings. But these were not simple metal slugs. They accelerated to 90% of light speed. At that velocity, even a small object became a devastating weapon. The battleship Pride of Velker took a direct hit. The kinetic round passed completely through the ship from bow to stern. For a moment nothing happened. Then the entire vessel simply disintegrated, torn apart by the catastrophic transfer of energy. Commander Jaiwan watched her tactical display fill with casualty reports. Ships were dying faster than she could count them. "Deploy countermeasures," she ordered her crew. "Get us out of their firing solution." Her ship banked hard, engine screaming. A human missile passed so close she could see it through the viewport. It was small, sleek, and moving impossibly fast. Then the human fighters appeared. They came in swarms, hundreds of small craft moving with precision that seemed impossible. Jaiwan watched one human fighter pull a turn that should have killed its pilot. The force of that maneuver would create over 40 times normal gravity. No living being could survive that. But the human pilot did not just survive. The fighter immediately rolled and fired, destroying a Valkyrian frigate. "Their pilots are enhanced," her science officer gasped. "They have modified their own bodies. Reinforced bones. Synthetic organs. They have made themselves into weapons." The asteroid belt erupted with activity. Thousands of human warships dropped their camouflage and revealed themselves. They had been there all along, waiting, watching. The Valkyrians had flown right past them, never suspecting. These ships moved with coordinated precision. They acted like a single organism, anticipating each other's movements perfectly. Their quantum communications allowed them to share data instantly across the entire fleet. Admiral Tamin realized the horrible truth. The Empire had never fought a real war. For 2 centuries they had bullied and conquered peaceful species. Primitive species. Species that had no military tradition. But humans? Humans had been fighting each other for thousands of years. They had perfected the art of killing. Every weapon, every tactic, every strategy they had developed against each other was now turned against the Valkyrian fleet. "We need to retreat," Jaiwan shouted into the communications channel. "Admiral, we cannot win this fight." Tamin did not want to admit defeat. The Empire had never retreated. Never. But as he watched another dozen ships die on his tactical display, he knew they had no choice. All ships fall back too. Human vessels appeared inside the Valkyrian formation. One moment there was empty space, the next moment human warships materialized like ghosts. They had jumped using faster-than-light technology, but only for short distances. The Empire believed such precise, short-range jumps were impossible. The mathematics did not work. The energy requirements were too high. But humans had made it work anyway. The human ships fired at point-blank range. Dozens of Valkyrian vessels died before they could even react. "Full retreat," Tamin screamed. "Jump to FTL now. Emergency protocols." The surviving ships activated their faster-than-light drives and fled. Some did not make it. Human weapons found them even as they tried to escape. Jaiwan's ship was one of the last to jump. As the stars stretched into lines around her, she looked at the tactical display one final time. Of the 300 warships that had entered the Sol system, only 40 remained. Admiral Tamin's flagship was not among them. The Eternal Dominion had been destroyed in the first 5 minutes of combat. Jaiwan was now in command of the shattered remnants of the fleet. She had been a commander. Now she was an admiral by virtue of being the highest-ranking officer still alive. The humans did not pursue. They simply let the Valkyrians run. Analyst Hyunwoo sat at his station, hands shaking. His report had warned them. He had tried to tell them that humans were different. That their culture celebrated defiance and resistance. No one had listened. And 260 warships had paid the price. The journey back to Valkyrian Prime took 6 days. 6 days of silence. 6 days of treating the wounded and counting the dead. 6 days of knowing they had failed completely. Admiral Jaiwan, who had been a commander just days ago, sat in her new office aboard the surviving flagship. She had never wanted this promotion. She had earned it by surviving when so many others had died. The medical bays were full. Injured crew members lined the hallways. Some would recover. Others would carry their wounds forever. All of them would carry the memory of what happened at Earth. Analyst Hyunwoo came to her office on the 3rd day. His face was pale and his hands still shook. "I tried to warn them," he said quietly. "I wrote a report about human culture. About their history of warfare. No one read it. Jaiwan looked at him with tired eyes. Show me. He pulled up the files on her display. Together they read through the data he had compiled. Human history stretched back thousands of years and almost all of it was war. They had fought with stones and sticks. Then with bronze and iron. Then with guns and bombs. Then with nuclear weapons that could destroy entire cities. But they had never stopped fighting. Never stopped improving their weapons. Never stopped preparing for the next battle. They unified their planet 15 years ago, Hyunwoo explained. Every nation joined together under one government. Do you know what they did then? Jaiwan shook her head. They turned all that military knowledge outward. Every weapons designer. Every tactical genius. Every strategic planner. They all started working together with one goal, defend Earth from external threats. But how did they advance so quickly? Jaiwan asked. Our intelligence showed primitive technology. They let us see what they wanted us to see, Hyunwoo said. Everything in orbit was old technology. Chemical rockets. Nuclear fission. They kept their real capabilities hidden inside their planet, inside their moon, inside Mars. We never looked closely because we assumed they were weak. Jaiwan closed her eyes. The Empire had grown arrogant. 200 years of easy victories had made them careless. On the 5th day something appeared on their sensors. A single ship was following them. A human warship, keeping pace with the Valkyrian fleet but not attacking. Should we engage? Her weapons officer asked. No, Jaiwan said firmly. We're going home. That ship is making sure we do exactly that. When the fleet finally arrived at Valkyrian Prime, the homeworld of the Empire, Jaiwan expected relief. Instead she felt only dread. Emperor Daeho summoned her immediately. The Grand Chamber was enormous, built to hold thousands of people during ceremonies. Today it held only the survivors and the imperial court. The emperor sat on his throne, surrounded by his 4 closest advisors. His face was carved from stone, showing no emotion. Explain, he commanded. Explain how you lost 260 warships to primitives. Jaiwan showed him everything. The sensor recordings. The tactical data. The weapon analysis. She showed him ships that moved faster than anything the Empire possessed. Weapons that operated on principles their scientists did not understand. Humans who had modified their own bodies to survive forces that would kill any normal being. They were never primitives, my emperor, she said quietly. They fooled us. They prepared for centuries while we grew comfortable with easy victories. One of the advisors, a military commander named Young-ho, slammed his fist on the table. Impossible. No species can advance that quickly. Our intelligence was thorough. Our intelligence saw what the humans wanted us to see, Jaiwan replied. Old technology. Divided nations. Primitive weapons. All of it was a mask hiding their true strength. The emperor opened his mouth to speak but never got the chance. The palace shook. Not from an earthquake. From something much worse. Alarms screamed throughout the capital city. Every screen in the Grand Chamber lit up with the same emergency message. One ship had appeared in orbit above Valkyrian Prime. A human warship. It was massive, larger than anything in the Valkyrian fleet. Its name was painted on the hull in letters 10 meters tall. Utes Indomitable. The ship positioned itself directly above the Imperial Palace and stopped. It did not fire. It did not transmit threats. It simply waited. Emperor Daeho's face went white. Can we destroy it? Young-ho checked with the Planetary Defense Network. Unknown, my emperor. Our weapons may not penetrate its shields. And if we attack and fail? He did not need to finish. Everyone understood. If they attacked and failed, Earth would know the Empire had chosen war over peace. And Earth had just proven it could win that war. Admiral Salmon stood on the bridge of the Utes Indomitable and looked down at Valkyrian Prime. It was a beautiful world. 3 continents. 2 oceans. Billions of lives going about their daily routines, unaware of how close they had come to annihilation. She could end it all with one order. The weapons on her ship could sterilize the entire planet in minutes. But she had no intention of giving that order. Open all communication channels, she commanded. I want every Valkyrian to hear this message. Every screen. Every radio. Every device capable of receiving a signal. Her communications officer nodded. Channels open, Admiral. You are broadcasting to the entire planet. Salmon's image appeared on billions of screens across Valkyrian Prime. In homes, in offices, in public squares. Every citizen of the Empire's homeworld stopped what they were doing and stared. I am Admiral Salmon of the Earth Union Defense Force, she began. Her voice was calm but hard as steel. 72 hours ago your empire attacked my home. You believed us weak. You believed us easy prey. You were wrong. In the Grand Chamber, Emperor Deho watched the broadcast with his advisors. His hands gripped the arms of his throne so tightly his knuckles turned white. We destroyed your fleet not because we wanted to, Saman continued, but because we had to. You gave us a choice, submit or die. We chose a third option. We chose to fight. Holographic projectors activated across the planet. Images appeared in the sky above every major city. They showed Earth's true military capabilities. Weapons that could collapse stars. Ships that could move through dimensions the Valkyrians did not know existed. Technology that was centuries beyond anything the Empire possessed. The people of Valkyrian Prime looked up at these images in horror and awe. We could destroy your empire in weeks, Saman said. Every world you have conquered. Every species you have enslaved. We could free them all. We have the power to do it. She paused, letting those words sink in. But we will not. Emperor Deho leaned forward. Hope flickered in his eyes. We do not want your empire, Saman explained. We do not want your territory. We do not want to rule you. We want only one thing, to be left alone. She pointed at the camera, and it felt like she was pointing directly at every person watching. We gave you a warning. 72 hours to leave our system. We hoped you would be smart enough to listen. You were not. Now you know the cost of ignoring humanity. Behind her, the bridge crew of the Indomitable worked silently. They were professionals. They had done their job. Now they wanted to go home. Tell every species in this galaxy, Saman said. Tell them that humanity exists. Tell them that we are powerful. Tell them that we prefer peace but we are prepared for war. And tell them this, if you come for us we will give you one warning. Only one. Heed it. The transmission ended. But the Indomitable remained in orbit. For 6 hours, the Valkyrian government worked frantically to draft a treaty. The terms were simple. The Empire would never enter the Sol system again. They would spread word of humanity's strength to every species they encountered. They would leave Earth in peace forever. Emperor Deho signed the treaty himself. His hand shook as he wrote his name. The document was transmitted to the human ship. Minutes later, the Indomitable vanished. It jumped to faster-than-light speed without another word. Admiral Jaiwan was given a new assignment. She became the Empire's first contact officer for humanity. Her job was to make sure no Valkyrian ship ever made the same mistake again. She created new protocols. Every exploration vessel was given updated star charts with the Sol system marked in red. Forbidden territory. Every military academy taught a new lesson about the dangers of underestimating an opponent. Within months, word spread across the galaxy. Trading guilds updated their routes. Mercenary companies revised their threat assessments. Pirate clans learned to avoid a certain yellow star. Some species were curious. They sent long-range probes to observe Earth from a safe distance. What they saw confirmed the stories. Massive defensive installations. Ships moving on patrol routes. A civilization that was awake and watching. But Earth did not expand outward. The humans built no empire. They claimed no territory beyond their own solar system. They seemed content to explore peacefully, to trade fairly, and to be left alone. 50 years passed. The Valkyrian Empire still existed, still ruled its conquered worlds. But it never forgot the lesson learned at Earth. 3 rules became known across the galaxy. Humanity prepares for wars they hope never happen. Humanity gives one warning. Always heed it. Humanity prefers to build rather than destroy. But never, ever mistake that preference for weakness. Emperor Deho died of old age 30 years after the failed invasion. On his deathbed, he gave his successor one final piece of advice. Never go to Earth. Never threaten them. Never test them. Some species are prey. Some are predators. And some are survivors who will burn down the universe before they surrender. Humanity is the third kind. The new emperor heeded those words. And Earth continued to build, to explore, and to dream of the stars, knowing that if anyone threatened their home again, they were ready. They were always ready.